Hey guys, I am Pokemon1086 and welcome back to a brand new video game review. So today's game I'm going to be reviewing is one that came out in 2018 and it happens to be from my homie, my favorite Marvel superhero, and that game I'm talking to you guys about is Marvel's Spider-Man. I bet you guys are thinking, if you're going to review Spider-Man, why aren't you wearing some Spider-Man merch? Well, joke's on you. I happen to own 2 Spider-Man shirts. Yeah, that's right. I got 2, and that's not all. That's not all. I have these Funko Pops here. I got some on my desk. I also happen to own not just Marvel Spider-Man, but I own Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales. Aha! A new Spider-Man game that we've all been waiting for, one that's been in development since I believe 2016 or even 2014, I think. Don't quote me on it. Lord knows I don't want to ruin my reputation with Spider-Man. You never know. Could be out there. This game was one of the best PlayStation games I played from 2018. And we had some other good games, like everybody was raving about God of War, and it seemed like as if Marvel Spider-Man and God of War were going to be butting heads that year because both of those were excellent games to have come out in 2018. I played God of War. I absolutely had a ball. Still debate on if I would put it over Spider-Man because, like I said, this game really took me by surprise. And I'm here to tell you guys all the things I liked about it and the few small cons that I didn't like about it. Marvel Spider-Man was released exclusively for the PlayStation 4 on September 7th, 2018, and again on the PS5 on November 12th, 2020. It was developed by Insomniac Games, published by Sony Interactive Entertainment, and once again the platforms it was released on were the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5. It sold over 20 million units as of November 2020. There's no confirmed sequel, but there is a Game of the Year edition and a 3-part DLC titled The City That Never Sleeps, which was released from October to December of 2018. In the main storyline, a superhuman crime lord, Mr. Negative, orchestrates a plot to seize control of New York City's criminal underworld. When Mr. Negative threatens to release a deadly virus, Spider-Man must confront him and protect the city while dealing with the personal problems of his civilian persona, Peter Parker. Marvel Spider-Man spent 4 years in development with some discussion between Sony Interactive Entertainment's Vice President of Production Development, Connie Booth, over at Insomniac Games, with CEO Ted Price. Throughout some negotiations, they decided to come together, assembling Jay Ong, Senior Vice President of Marvel Games, and hiring creative director Brian N. Heder to create a storyline that wasn't an existing movie or comic book story, giving them the freedom to create their own story. Spider-Man uses Insomniac's property engine that was previously used in Sunset Overdrive and modified for 4K and HDR resolution for their game Ratchet & Clank. The game was announced in June 2016 at Sony's Electronic Entertainment Expo press conference and finalized on July 30th, 2018. So yes, the game was in development for quite some time now, and I'm glad that they were able to work with Insomniac and they were able to work with, of course, Sony Interactive Studios to kind of produce this game, because this game was absolutely beautiful. I mean, from the graphics to the story to all the cool, neat side missions to the villains to the overall character development. Everything about this game really made it one of the best Spider-Man games to have ever come out. And we've had quite a few Spider-Man games, like we've had Friend or Foe, we've had Shattered Dimensions, Web of Shadows, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man on the 64, Ultimate Spider-Man, and many more. We've had really good Spider-Man games to come out throughout the years, but nothing like this. And what made this unique, like I already mentioned, was that it had its own story. They didn't go off of anything that's been done before in the comics and everything. They created their own story. They introduced a new villain within the Spider-Man universe while also featuring old school villains that Peter Parker has faced off. So not only do you get a new villain, but he literally has to fight the Sinister Six at the same time. It is such an absolute treat. I was up till 2, 3 a.m. playing this game. Don't care if my girlfriend yelled at me. Don't care if I had school the next day. Don't care if I failed the test. This game was my life. And now obviously this game now has been also introduced onto the PS5 as well as the Spider-Man Miles Morales. Another thing I liked about this game was that you really got to like go more in depth with not only the Spider-Man side of things, but with the Peter Parker side. In some comics you see that, in some TV shows you may even get a little glimpse of that. The MCU movies with Tom Holland, you know, with Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man Far From Home, you got to see like the human side of Peter Parker within those movies, which I personally liked. And that's what I liked about about this game was that yes, it did fixate on Spider-Man because hello, it's fucking Spider-Man. Like what, you think it's gonna be about Mary Jane? No. Well, I'll get into that later. It's about Peter Parker trying to keep things in his own life less chaotic while also trying to keep the persona as Spider-Man and try and save New York City. Ever since a kid, I've always wanted to be Spider-Man. I've tried numerous things, even as an adult, just like Tobey Maguire in the first Spider-Man movie. I wanted to be like him. I even just went outside to try and climb a wall to see if I actually could become Spider-Man. I wonder if I'll try jumping from roof to roof. Maybe that'll do something. Nah, I'm not doing that. Didn't quite work out. But just the fact that I went and did all that stuff really indicates how much I love Spider-Man. It's been a while since we've actually gotten a really good Spider-Man game. Now, some people may defer and say, oh, Spider-Man 2 personally was my favorite over this. Huh. But can that Spider-Man use gadgets? Didn't think so. Can that Spider-Man have access to Tony Stark's stuff? Didn't think so. If you want more of like a realistic Spider-Man feel game, obviously Spider-Man 2 is the better route to go. But if you are like in like the newer times and you want to kind of get something new from Spider-Man, something that's not been done before, then this definitely is the game to play. And I know some people still haven't gotten their hands and played Spider-Man, let alone are people really gonna rush to get Miles Morales. Obviously people did because it was sold out everywhere. Doesn't surprise me that a lot of people haven't rushed to play Spider-Man on the PS4 because not a lot of people like playing superhero games, which is nothing wrong with that. But if you wanted to get introduced into more superhero games, you know, especially ones that you could play solo, this is definitely the game. But it also has a 3-part DLC, so if you really like the game and you're like, oh damn, I wish there was more to it, you can get it. You can even also get the Game of the Year edition because that has all the DLC on it. Plus, if you really want to go all out and get the Spider-Man game, it'd be better just to get the Game of the Year edition. It's probably really cheap now that we got Miles Morales out, and the DLCs are pretty lengthy. It's not just a, oh, it takes like a 1 hour kind of thing. No, it could take you several hours or even a day depending on how busy your schedule is. Yes, I did play this game religiously, but I also had like a couple of days away from it where I took a break because I really wanted to savor the game. That's how much I really enjoyed this game. So I took my time. There were some frustrations where I kept getting beat down or I kept making the same mistake over and over and over and over again. But you know what? It was all part of the fun. Did I rage quit a little bit? Yes. But this game will have a special place in my heart and I absolutely loved it. So now this is the part of the video where we're going to be moving on to the pros and the cons of Marvel's Spider-Man. Before I get into those, like I mentioned, I will be excluding stuff from Miles Morales only because I just got the game. I haven't played it yet. I've been avoiding all gameplay from other YouTubers and I've been avoiding spoilers all over the internet just so I can get surprised and everything from this game. So the story is definitely the top thing on my pros list, and the story by far was really good. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, I liked that they didn't just take an idea from a comic book and just threw it in there. They wrote their own little original story by introducing, like I said, a new character, Mr. Negative, while also bringing back some famous villains, therefore creating the Sinister Six. Yes, when Spider-Man tries to fight the Sinister Six, that's obviously been done in dozens of comic books, dozens of shows. That's nothing new. The fact that they introduced Mr. Negative and the fact that he wanted to release a deadly virus, all this stuff with Aunt May and everything, his relationship with Dr. Octavius going down the drain, it was like mind-boggling. Now, obviously everybody knows the story with Dr. Octavius. It's nothing really too new that you saw coming, but at the same time, it's kind of like, oh shit, because you know, you're so focused on the aspect and the relationship that Peter and Dr. Octavius have in the laboratory that you don't really pick up on anything. Now, once he started showing Peter designs for the stuff that he wanted to do with the whole chip in the back of his head thing, then it was kind of like, oh, now I see where this is going. Well, time to play something else. The battle between them at the end, because obviously Dr. Octavius is the final boss. Oh shit, you thought Mr. Negative was the final boss. You ain't seen nothing yet. It still was like heartbreaking. You know, obviously Peter looked up to Dr. Octavius. He's worked with Dr. Octavius. It's almost like a father figure to him, you know? And just to have to battle him, no one wants to have to go through that emotion. I went through the emotions. Now, obviously I didn't cry. It still was something really like, Man, I already know Miles Morales. I can have a feeling I'm going to be hitting them same feels, man. So the next one on the list is the different suits. Now, I loved all the different suits. Like, they had the Sam Raimi suit, the suit that he has on the cover. They had some of the Mark Armor suits. They had the black and yellow suit, the Spider-Punk suit. They had all different types. They had the Rip suit, the Homecoming suit. There were so many different types of suits to unlock in this game. Now, obviously, they weren't just gonna up and give them to you. You have to earn them by doing side missions and stuff like that. The same thing with gadgets. That's how you also unlock different types of gadgets to use. Yeah, it can be tedious just like any other game. Nobody wants to do side missions all the damn time. But if you want them damn suits, you better be putting in that work. I definitely like the Sam Raimi suit because that just reminded me of my childhood and obsessing over Spider-Man. Do I really need to show the clip of me trying to climb a wall again? By far, my favorite suits had to have been the Mark Armor 4 suits. The side missions were really fun. I mean, some of them were interesting because I just like beat 'em up kind of stuff. So when you get those side missions where you have to beat those goons, the stealth missions where you had to like hop back and forth trying to knock out villains without being seen by other goons. Depending on the place, it was tedious, but for the most part, that was fun. I didn't like those ones where you had to swing all around the city by doing, what was it? It was like that one girl that liked to do those online challenges. I forget her name. The Taskmaster ones where you had to fight Taskmaster. Those weren't that bad, but doing those side missions was really fun because if you wanted to take a break from the actual story itself, doing those side missions was still just a lot of fun, honestly. The web swinging mechanics. What I think a lot of people, including myself, really liked was that the web swinging mechanics really reminded you of Spider-Man 2, and that's by far one of the only like few Spider-Man games that actually had really good web swinging. And I think they purposely kind of made it like that. Really kind of made me go back to the days and made me relive what I played while on the GameCube, which was Spider-Man 2, and how much I really loved the web swinging from that game. Ah, yes, the boss fights. The boss fights were a lot of fun. Now, the ones where you had to fight two villains at once, fuck that. The main villains, like fighting Doc Ock, Mr. Negative, a lot of that was so much fun. Like, I remember I would just be savoring each and every moment. The amount of times you had to fight Mr. Negative, Kingpin, that group that was ran by that woman with the silver hair, yeah, that was cool too. But just overall, the boss fights were just really fun, really detailed. If you couldn't tell already, I really love Spider-Man. Playing as Miles Morales. Now, granted, he didn't have his powers yet, but you saw him get bit by that spider when he was talking to Mary Jane. Doing a little bit of stuff with Miles in the game was fun. Yes, it could have been better. It could have been like the actual Miles Morales game itself where he could have had the suit and everything like that, but just playing as Miles and having them incorporate Miles into that universe. Now, it also can be a con because some of those Miles Morales missions were a bit tedious. And last but not least, the DLC. The DLC was a lot of fun. Like I mentioned, 3 parts. You got to fight in the Turf Wars. You got to fight that one lady and her minions with the silver hair. You got to see Black Cat. My girl Black Cat. Make that kitty go. Sorry you had to hear me talk naughty, but something about Black Cat in that damn game really makes your boy wanna. The DLCs was definitely something that I needed because I wanted more of Spider-Man when the game ended. And that DLC definitely did help pass the time while I waited to see if they were gonna announce a sequel. Now, granted, it was annoying as fuck because some of those goons were quite annoying. And I actually, if I get the PS5, I'm definitely going to probably get Spider-Man Miles Morales, and I'm definitely going to replay the story mode all over again, for sure. Because this one I haven't 100%ed. On the PS4, I haven't 100%ed that. So now we move on to the cons, and there's only just like 2 cons that I personally didn't like about the game. The Mary Jane missions. Yes, I know you're probably thinking, really? You're gonna hate on the Mary Jane missions? I just thought they were unnecessary. Like, don't get me wrong, Mary Jane is a really awesome girl, and she can hold her own, which is one thing I really liked about Mary Jane. But just the whole playing the Mary Jane missions, we didn't need that. We honestly didn't need the Miles Morales ones either, but, you know, at least with Miles Morales, they were like somewhat entertaining. Granted, she had a taser and it was kind of fun to tase the people. And last but not least, the gadgets. I know the gadgets were cool. Trust me, I like the gadgets too, but it made me think a lot of the Tom Holland Spider-Man. It seems like that Spider-Man becomes too reliant on using gadgets. I like a more organic Spider-Man who doesn't use a lot of gadget material, who just basically just uses them hands and whoops niggas' asses. That's all I like within Spider-Man. I don't care about using some gravity shit or some electrifying shit. I want to just give niggas them hands. I don't care about them other weapon shit. Just let me give that nigga the 2-piece combo and a biscuit with a coleslaw and a coke. That's why for the longest time, I did not get a lot of those gadgets until I absolutely needed them, because I was not gonna sit there and just rely on gadgets for the most part. So anyway, guys, that concludes the review for Marvel's Spider-Man. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, dislike if you didn't. Subscribe if you're brand new to the channel, guys. We are on the road to 1K. We are doing so good. I've been seeing the love on the recent videos. I've been getting new subscribers in, which I absolutely love, and it is so cool to see more and more people coming into the channel. Trust me, 2021 is definitely gonna be some really cool videos. I got a lot of stuff planned. I'm gonna be experimenting with some new stuff, all a work in progress, and I love each and every one of you that have been coming to the channel, showing your love and support. It really does mean a lot to me. Got a couple more videos to come for 2020, so don't think this is the last one, but I just really wanted to talk about Spider-Man because, like I said, this was probably by far one of my favorite PlayStation 4 games, let alone one of my favorite games to have come out of 2018. If you want to connect more with me other than the channel, you can also check out my second channel, AfroGeek plus Ultra Nappy, in the link in the description below. I put videos out there at least 3 days a week, on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Sometimes I even upload a Sunday video. And if you want to connect more with me, hit up my links to my social media down in the description below. I'm talking Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And yeah, that's it for the video, guys. So I will catch you guys in the next Pokemon Tania 6 video. I am Pokemon Tania 6, and your boy is out of here.